It's a great pleasure to welcome Mark Bowen.
Thanks,
Thank you very much for coming.
Great to be here.
It boggles my mind why Man United let him go.
No, not the only poor decision they've made, it seems, in transfer market. You look at some players, Sam, you've had them where you think, you know, that this level, he's going to go there and there and there.
And that is Kevin De Bruyne's time at Manchester City done. People are saying Liverpool and Villa are linked with him. What do you think?
Who are they going to go and get in the summer now?
Mateta.
Yeah.
Are you his agent?
Well, I wouldn't mind being.
Welcome to another episode of No Tippy Tappy Football. How are you, Sam?
I'm sad.
Why?
Well, I'm happy because of Crystal
Why?
Palace. Because of Crystal Palace winning. Because obviously I had a fantastic time there. So any Crystal Palace fans watching this podcast, congratulations. Absolutely loved my time at Palace with Steve Parish and the rest of the lads, and they've done a fantastic job winning the FA Cup. And I think that moving on, then I'm on the sad side. Yeah, so it's a dual expression for me today on the fact this is our last podcast, Nat.
I know.
Our last one of the season, and it gone quick again.
And it gone proper quick, Sam. Yeah,
I
can you
know.
believe it's been 2.5
Flies
years
by,
now,
doesn't
this
it?
podcast?
2.5 years gone.
Yeah. And we would like to be here next year, wouldn't we?
We would like to be here next year, but obviously our followers, our subscribers, if they would make a comment and they've enjoyed this season, please go on your social media and express your wishes, good or bad. We'll have to say, won't we? We'll take it all on the chin if we have to, won't we?
Of course we would.
You know.
Do you think if we've made you smile or laugh, or if you've enjoyed at least 5 minutes of an episode, do you think? And please go and subscribe to us. Right, I want to talk about the FA Cup final first, but let's introduce our guest. Get into that, and then we'll get into the FA Cup final, and then everything else that's going on in the world of football, which is always loads. So, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, it's one from the past. We've known him a long time. Over the years, coming together and challenging each other, going to battle on the touchline, not on the pitch. So it's a great pleasure to welcome Mark Bowen. Mark, thank you very much for coming.
Great to be here.
Travelled all the way up from London, I think. So it's a pleasure to see him.
Thank you, Mark. That's so kind. We appreciate you coming all the way up here.
Pleasure. Chew the fat on past experiences, I suppose.
We've got to tell you our record. Natalie's got our record. Because my memory's not that good now. Our record of getting people a job when they come on our podcast lies at
28 former guests get a job after being
There
on
we
the
go.
podcast, Mark.
There we go. So we're very proud of that.
Brilliant. It was
That record.
It's worth a journey up.
Yeah, so I'm sure it will be. And I'm sure this summer there'll be plenty of jobs coming up, and
Oh, we might topple over 30 in the summer.
hopefully, Nat, experience will count.
Yes.
Because it seems that experience is not counting, and I think you can't beat experience in some cases, whatever you're doing in football, particularly like you mean. So, a wealth of knowledge when you move into a football club is a great thing to have, and I think that hopefully, Matt, you can.
Thanks, Sam. There's one thing I have to thank Sam for.
on.
I didn't thank him earlier on. Goes back a while. So my eldest son is head of sports science at Reading Football Club.
Oh, right.
Been there about 6-7 years now. Sam gave him his first job at West Ham. So he's fresh out of university, just did his degree, and I think I either rang or messaged Sam. So he says, send him into West Ham, and he gave him his first job in football. So I will always be grateful for that.
Well, he had to be good at it.
Of course.
It wasn't just somebody you know as a
Yeah,
favourite.
of
It was
course.
like come in and let's see how good he is. Of course, you know what I mean. And there's two mixes in that. There's what you know and what you've learnt and all the exams that you've passed, but also your personality.
Yeah.
So his personality was so much better than Mark's. It was unbelievable.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
So
Welcome to the podcast, Mark.
It was a pleasure to have him, like you mean, and he was good with the banter.
Yeah.
He took it well because obviously a newbie gets the rip taken out of him. Or we could still do it then. We probably can't do it now because of HR. You know what I mean? But then he was right up for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he really enjoyed it. And we enjoyed having him.
Mark, your breadth of jobs and knowledge across football is incredible. So it's played obviously Spurs, Norwich, West Ham, assistant manager to Mark Hughes across several clubs, and then Reading, and then sporting director. Like you've really covered a lot.
Yeah.
If we go back to the start though, when did yours and Sam's paths cross the first time that you can remember?
Well, as far as I remember back was really when I'd started off, finished playing and got into coaching really because I wanted to get into coaching. And Mark Hughes was my oldest friend in football, let's say, and we started doing your badges, your A license, your pro license together, and did that. And then Mark, it's quite a funny story actually, because being friends and whatever, and we'd sort of done these badges, and then Mark gets the Welsh job, and I find out, typical Mark, if you like, I found out he'd got the Welsh national team job by listening to Sky Sports or whatever it was, and he's got the Welsh job, so I rang him up. You got the Welsh job, yeah? And I said, like, and I was genuinely serious. I said, when do we start? And he, it was meant as a friendly gesture, and he went, whoa. He said, well, yeah. He said, listen, I'll get back to you. And anyway, the story is he came back and said...
How long did it take him to get back to you?
Oh, about a month.
So you sat there biting your nails.
Yeah. So, he actually said to me, look, what I'll do, mate, is he said, I can't take you on board with the senior team, but give you a chance. He said, you can go into the under-21s as the assistant to the under-21s coach, who's an old, really good old boy called Jimmy Shoulder. And I started doing that. And about 4 games into the under-21 job, he called me one side and said, listen, I've been watching closely, working with the players. He said, I'd like to bring you on board. So we did 4 years with the Welsh national team. Then we got the Blackburn Rovers job. And Sam had been at Bolton a couple of years by then. Mm. And that was a really interesting thing that, Mark, I still say, he was very forward thinking in what he wanted to do. I used the phrase back in the day before people were, and Sam was, for me, the pioneer of the sports science and doing things right. I mean, it's been well documented. And we almost tried to, not copy, but say, right, this is what we have to do. There's one person doing it and on each other's doorsteps, if you like, Sam being at Bolton. So that's when we started sort of crossing paths, really, and obviously trying to outdo them because we were on the same patch.
Yeah, local derby.
Yeah, very
well.
much. I love that as well. Straight onto the phone to your friend. Love that. When are we in?
Yeah.
I think that's a great lesson for everybody because you've got to ask, haven't you? You don't ask in life, you never get. So did you have lots of, in the Blackburn Bolton days, post-match wines in the office after a game?
Listen, I have to answer this. One of the best hosts after a game ever.
Mark Hughes?
Yeah.
You don't get kicked out. I remember Blackburn.
For how long?
I remember QPR. I remember when I was at West Ham. It's like, just leave the lads waiting.
You did, yeah.
Sat on the bus?
Yeah.
Even longer if you'd got beat.
I know. Yeah. So hospitality.
Yeah.
Just really good.
So you have been out of football since May last year?
No, about September time.
About September, when you left Reading, when you were doing... Now, was it sporting director or head of football operations, or are they the same thing?
They're one and the same. And I always say it's like one club's sport director could be another club's chief scout. It seems to be such a wide range of roles and responsibilities for that role. I was, I don't know what to say, whether I was lucky or unlucky, but going into Reading whereby let's say that the hierarchy and the systems around me weren't very much in place. So my role encompassed everything across from the women's team, the academy, to the medical, to everything, and trying to... It was a very steep learning curve, Natalie, let's put it that way.
That's a lot to do, though, isn't it? That's a lot to deal with. I think that the structure of the football club has to be the first team. No disrespect, but everything else underneath that, when you've got to pull together the top right through into the first team, and then when you get down and you're comfortable with that, in my opinion, then you would move to the the academy, and then the women's team, and then so on. To throw that all across the board means you can't. You can't really. You've got to really focus on the one and get that right, and then not ignore, but just put that to one side, I think, and then you move up when you're comfortable with that there and the structure's right, and the communication between the coach, the coaches, you, the owner, or your directors, or your head of one of your directors, is very, very important, so that they're all aligned in terms of, you know, where do we go? Because you've got the top where, by the sound of it, you're always struggling for money. So you've got to make the best out of what you've got. You've got to relay that to the coach and say, look, I'm here to help you. We'll do the best we can to scour the whole of the country to get players on the cheap, really, if we can. But we've also got to find out whether we're lucky enough to have them good enough or make Reading better. And then, so the scope of that job description is massive.
A lot of apologies from myself to the academy director, to the head of the women's team, saying, look, bear with me, but I've got to try and get this right first, the first team, or nothing else matters, you know? And there's only so many hours in a day, and trying to stretch yourself, like Sam was saying, I couldn't at times. You got to almost like apologize, say, look, I'll get back to you, but I've got to focus here for here and now. So it was difficult, but quite proud of the job I did there with the young squad that they've got coming through now. So I'm sure they just had a new ownership go in there, and fingers crossed that things might sort of calm down for them now and they can start being a proper football club again.
It's been a really difficult few years at that football club, and for those fans,
Incredible.
really difficult.
Yeah.
For you though, all the different jobs that you've done that we mentioned, are you looking? Do you want to get back into football? And is it a specific job that you're interested in? Like,
yeah, obviously I want to get back in, certainly, because you miss it. You know, every sort of, you know, I always used to like smile at the managers, coaches. They come out of football and almost like the party line was, yeah, you know, time for a little rest now. I'll go on holiday, and that was fine. Listen, I've been sacked so many times myself and Mark and whatever that you'd almost go on holiday for a week and then you'd start missing it straight away. So you want to get back in because it's in your blood, if you like. And yeah, to answer your question, I really, in difficult circumstances, I really enjoyed the role of a in brackets sport director, and it did sort of put that question in my mind. What would it be like? Because it was very, the turmoil was flowing all the time there. So I just questioned, what would it be like to work in a club with, you know, that was a little bit more steady? It must be quite enjoyable, actually.
no, yeah, you'll get one and you'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Well, best of luck.
Thanks.
We'll keep an eye on that as we do with all our former guests. Best of luck with that. Right, let's get on to the FA Cup final. So we're recording this Monday morning and I'm still sad. But do you want my story? Because I remember we said on the show last week.
Oh, yeah, the trip.
Didn't know if I was going to be there. I didn't know if I was going to be there or not, Mark. I had plan A, B, C and D. So I was in Hamburg for work. I did work with the ATP on Saturday morning in Hamburg. I was interviewing Francisco Cerundolo, who is the
Well, you pronounced that well.
Francisco Cerundolo.
Yeah.
He's 18th in the world,
Right,
number one Argentinian. And then my shoot got finished early. So I went straight to the airport. I got to the airport at 12:45 Hamburg time. My flight was 2:30 to Heathrow, but there was an earlier flight at 1:30. So I bought a new flight, Sam.
Wow.
I spent £300. I bought a new flight, got into Heathrow at 2:20, got off Heathrow, ran through security, ran through Heathrow in my trainers, got into my car, drove to Wembley and got to Wembley at 4:06.
Unbelievable.
I was inside Wembley at like 4:15.
And then it let you down?
And then
After all that?
After all of that.
I mean, oh, no. Well,
what did you think of it?
I thought that's tremendous support. I think you're just mad, really, but there you go.
Thanks,
You're a
Sam.
Man City fan, everybody would do it, wouldn't they, to get there?
Yeah.
If you got a ticket, suck in the atmosphere of Wembley when it's full.
Yeah.
The noise is unbelievable.
Oh, I cried my eyes out when I walked in.
Yeah, it's just
National anthem and
yeah, just the colours as well in it, like with it, you know, and just they do it right now, don't they? So I mean,
it was magic. What about the game?
They were unlucky, obviously. You know, I think that and then of course you've got one magnificent performance by Henderson. You know, I think that it looked like he was going to say, I don't care what you do or how good you are, you ain't going to get past me today. And you know, it boggles my mind why Man United let him go.
Well, they've made some, well, not the only poor decision they've made, it seems, in transfer market, is it?
I mean, he's going to be pushing Pickford.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to be pushing Pickford now. He's, you know, he's he's right up there, like you mean, and you know, he'd probably been at Man United. I don't know, did they buy him from somewhere before, or did he come through as a kid? I can't.
He came through as a kid.
Kid.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
You know, he could be Manchester United's goalie on a regular basis by the performances he gave for Crystal Palace, and look at Onana's mistakes and all that through the year, and how much money they've paid for him, and then they've let Henderson go, which is sad.
It's not as if he had. I think he'd played, was it a dozen games in the first team over that little period of time. So they'd obviously seen him in, let's say, their shop window, and decided, or somebody decided, no, he's not for us.
It's a bit like letting. I've got to get this pronounced right. Alange, is it for Forest?
They went to Forest, yeah.
I mean, he looks. I mean, he's something that Man United are missing: his skill and pace.
Were you? I was listening to different things coming up in the car now. Was anybody really surprised at the result of the game? It's a strange one because, you know, again, I can remember watching the game, I think at City, where the City won 5-2. But on the day, I was looking at the game, and there were loads of players in the game and chances that Palace had. And I did sort of get up in the morning thinking to myself, I don't think this is going to be as cut as dried as everybody seems to think.
No,
they've got the ammunition to hurt you, which has proved the point.
It's just very much not our year this year, and we saw that with obviously the missed penalty, the blatant red card decision which wasn't given for Henderson as well. And I'm not taking anything away from Palace, just to say that straight away. Huge congratulations to them. But no, I agree. I don't think it was. But what I do think is that, obviously, put aside my affiliation to Manchester City, if it wasn't going to be us, I'm really happy it was a team that's never won it before, because for the cups, both the cups, to have Palace win it, to have Newcastle win it, Sam, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant for cup football.
I think you've got to. I've said this before. You're in the zone, which Palace have been since the turn of the season. And whatever happens, there's fate. There's the unthinkable, not unthinkable. There's the unpredictable. I don't know. I think that's in life, but also particularly in football, the bounce of the ball. Yeah, it goes the right way and it goes the wrong way. And I think Palace's bounce of the ball and the things that are uncontrolled by the team or the manager went in Palace. I'm not taking away the brilliant performance by it, but there are times when you go, wow, you know, we're not only just in the zone as a team, but the right break is happening, the right situation comes, the right referee's decision, like, you know, not sending him off so it's one of those that I felt that after a while watching the game, because I thought at the start, the way City started, this is going to be difficult. But
so Munoz obviously just had an incredible season. Yeah, they bought him for less than £7 million. Like,
incredible.
They've had phenomenal recruitment, and also when you look at Eze, Gay, Wharton, Mateta, Henderson, they've not paid more than £20 million for a player. And when you look at that lineup, so we've got to give a lot of plaudits to their recruitment.
Yeah, and I think, I don't sound back me up here, I think Dougie Friedman's had a lot to do with it.
He's left now.
He's left. I think he's gone to Saudi, I think. But you know, in his capacity there, I mean, he rang me up about my first time I came away from Reading, because I've been sacked twice, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So the first time I came away from there, he rang me up about Michael Olise and just saying about, you know, what do you think of him? And I was like, yeah, certainly, you know, we talked about Michael, and you could see he had his finger on, you know, these type of players who can come in who maybe they're not, obviously couldn't be for Palace, the 30-40 million pound players, but they're under that bracket and they're prepared to take a bit of a chance on them, but also recognise where they can go, you know, and that's a key thing. I suppose at that level is you buy in not just players you think have got potential, but the potential is almost, it's sprouting, it's there already, you know, and there's that little band of players that they've almost seemed to corner the market on.
He's found the good in this country more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And paid really very good prices.
Mark Gay, from Chelsea, what did they pay 18 million for him?
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, you know, Wharton.
Yeah.
Wharton, yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes on and on, Steve, and I mean, and he's also you know, distributed his shares and sold a lot of the shares to the Americans, hasn't he? Which is taken the burden off him, you know, and I think that's a brilliant piece of business, Mark, you know, by him. I think the only thing he needs to do is obviously what as he said, what will they now develop from here? What will be invested? Because
can they hold on to the
I hope
players?
I hope it doesn't end up like what happened with me at Bolton, like you mean, where you say we don't want to go any farther, we don't want to go to the Champions League, we don't want to. He's got to push the owners to say where do we go from here? We're in Europe next year. The manager, I'm sure, will say that squad needs to grow. Because if they're going to go into Europe, you know, we've all the legacy of being in Europe means that most teams first in Europe never win the next Premier League game after. They struggle like mad, and that's what you've got to fight against. Great to get there, but how do you stay there? And you've got to convince the owners. You've got to go above and beyond. Otherwise, we could have a season that falters, because you could falter in the Premier League by being into Europe, by the demand on a squad that's not capable of coping. You know.
Absolutely. Just on Michael Olise, obviously having worked so closely with him, how good can he be, do you think?
I think he's got so much more to come as well. You know, is a lad who I turned up at Reading, and he was on the verge of the first team squad, but training every day with the senior players. And the strange thing to say, but the one thing that sort of stuck in my mind that he thought wasn't just the talent you saw, but he had this, like, not a cockiness, but this
cool and calm, I would say.
But in training, Sam, you do things and bordering on taking the mickey out of the players, and then maybe a senior player would come and smash him, and he'd wipe himself down, no complaints, get on with it. And you could see then, you're thinking, this kid can play with, you know, he's young, but he can play with senior players now. He's got the ability to do it. I said to him once that he was playing for the under-21s, and he sort of had this little bit of a habit whereby he knew he was too good for them. But there was one game in particular, he'd get the ball, and me being like an ex-fullback, if you like, he got this ball once and he rolled his foot, and then he pinged a 40-yard pass across the side of the pitch, and sort of stood there admiring it and a bit of a shrug. And I pulled him after the game and said, Mike, can I tell you something? That's brilliant. But I said, you know, the moment you kick that ball, do you know what the fullback does? And he looked at me and I said, he goes like that. I said, he's delighted. And I said, what gets you the big move away is not so much them 40-yard balls. He said, you've got to start putting numbers on your CV. How many goals are you creating, assisting in? How many goals are you scoring? So I said, instead of maybe doing that, get the ball and get at that fullback. Because I said, you'll terrify him. And not just because of that, but he did sort of start being a bit more, let's say, more dynamic in his play to go and create and go and score goals. Gets in the first team and look comfortable there. And generally, you know, you look at some players, Sam, you've had them where you think, you know, that this level, he's going to go there and there and there. And again, his first year at Munich, he's going to, you know,
it's a risk you got to be willing to take, isn't it? You know, you take them from there to bring them up here. I mean, you look at Mateta, right? Mateta was on our list at West Brom, right? So Palace and us, and probably more, were chasing Mateta in January. We missed out. Steve was clever enough to do a 2-year loan.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and get the job done. He was terrible when he came.
What, just raw in his play?
Raw, terrible. He was really, really, you know, I've spoke to Steve about it, you know. He said he was really, really, but we got him the second year, and all of a sudden, even at the start, just midway through, click. And now, you know, of all the, I think, and this is only my opinion, of course, Man United would be foolish not to sign him. I don't want to, you know, I want Palace to keep him if they can, obviously. But Man United would be absolutely foolish not to sign him. But is it all this stuff about he doesn't fit the bill? He's not, He's not the right type.
Arsenal as well, Sam.
He's
It
not,
definitely
looking
did.
for a
not
number
what,
9.
he's not what we want in the teams we want to play. He's got everything. He holds it up. Yeah. He assists. He scores with both feet. He scores with his head. He's 6'3". He's mobile. He's quick. He's strong. He's got everything. Everything you want in a top player in the Premier League. And he's proven it now, the back end last season and all of this season. And, you know, there is not many around. And of course, sad for Palace, they're going to have to sell one of them, probably, because you know what happens. As much as he wants to keep him and as much as Steve will fight him off, yeah.
Money talks in the end.
Money talks, but also the player could kick up a fuss.
Yeah.
Hopefully the fact they're playing in Europe might,
Yeah.
well, we'll see. But good luck to them. I mean, hopefully they hold on to those players and they give it a right good go in Europa League next year as well. Yeah, good luck to them. Heartbroken, but, you know, good luck to them. In terms of that, though, let's go back to Man United because we mentioned Henderson.
Just a minute, my phone's buzzing. I thought I'd turned it off.
Is it the dentist again? Hold on.
No.
Who is it? Anything interesting?
Tell Natalie she's rubbish. Somebody said. All right, sorry.
He off. Okay. In terms of Man United and Henderson, we mentioned it a little bit before. So they sold Henderson, then they paid pretty much double to get Onana in. Obviously, they had all the issue with De Gea as well, who, by the way, did you see that David De Gea has been named in the Serie A team of the season?
Yeah.
I'm mortified for them. Oh, my goodness. How do they keep getting it wrong?
I mean, what age was De Gea? He's about 32, something like that.
I feel like young for a keeper,
Yeah. And to let him, this is what I was saying about Henderson, whatever. But as it's turned out, and okay, so I've been sort of bright after the event, but you're letting De Gea go, and then you're letting Henderson go, and you're bringing in Onana, who just hasn't worked.
Who else did they bring in? I can't remember his name.
Goalkeeper-wise or player?
The goalkeeper, the number 2, played in the FA Cup.
Yes, I can't remember his
Arsenal
name. And he did all right, and then he made a mistake.
Penalty. I
can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're supposed to have got that recruitment right this year. I mean, because they scrapped everybody, didn't they? Who was already there and brought in a new regime to make sure they didn't make the same mistakes twice. And they'd not only made mistakes in recruitment, buying in, but they've all made mistakes on. Imagine how much money that would have saved Manchester United with Henderson in goal, having brought him through the ranks.
Yeah, they used to say the bigger clubs, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Man Cities, every year maybe they'd be looking to add two, three.
Or three, that's it, yeah.
Manchester United now, you're looking, everybody's talking about, you need a complete, almost like rebuild. And it's a sorry state to be in terms of the recruitment of the club, that it's not 2 or 3. Fans are generally saying, we need 10 new players, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want Ipswich Town fans to know that I'll never forgive them. I'll never forgive that club for not putting up a bigger fight this year and maybe giving us a Man United relegation, because that would have been the best thing that could have ever happened in football. So I'll never forgive you, Ipswich Town. At the other end of the table, we know now that Arsenal, obviously Liverpool have won it. Arsenal will finish second. They beat Newcastle to confirm that. But already people are questioning Mikel Arteta. I mean, he's constantly under questioning. Paul Merson
What for?
Well, Paul Merson
Why?
said on Super Sunday, if Mikel Arteta and if Arsenal aren't in the top 2 by Christmas, they need to look somewhere else.
No. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a great fan of his, but as in terms of the job he's done, I think he's like transformed the club into back to where it was. Not quite Arsene Wenger at its peak, but Arsene had many years qualifying for the Champions League. Many years.
Yeah.
Without the Arsenal going overboard on funding. You know, and so everybody says what he needs. So where'd you find him? It's just somebody who scores goals.
I think he's come out, doesn't he, overnight, almost saying he spoke to the board. They told him his position is safe, but he's told them they need to spend.
Yeah.
It's only saying what everybody else.
It's a brave decision, that, you know.
Yeah.
Telling the board you need to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he said he's been given assurances by the likes of Kroenke and whatever, and so it'll be very interesting to see, because I mean, Edu was there as the sport director, he's left, another one's come in, so it'll be again for not just Arteta, for the club, for the sport director, for the recruitment. Who are they going to go and get in the summer now? You know, it's
Mateta.
Well.
Are you his agent?
Well, I wouldn't mind being. I'll tell you this now. I mean, I can't. If somebody's overlooking him, it's just, you know. I mean, just what?
His injury record's all right, Sam.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay. I think it's just about the fact of his. It's a bit like Crouchy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
bit marmite.
Well, we can't have Crouchy. You know, it's too dangly, and he's 6'6". He's like Bambi on ice. What a player, man!
Oh yeah.
I mean, goal scorer, player, hold-up player.
Yeah. So would he be what they call like sexy enough for the Arsenal fans?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, he would if he's battering the defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, what centre half today would want to play against him?
No.
Because you don't come across. I mean, I centre forwards like every week I played. Like, I mean, you know,
not these days.
You know, just it was just like two battering rams together who's going to beat hell out of each other and then play as well, you know. But now it's all, you know, it's all about, you know.
Sam wouldn't survive with all the VAR cameras everywhere.
No, I wouldn't.
You have to get one in before.
I have to modify my game too much. But I think that you know, it's just about this outside noise about the influence of how they should look or what it's almost like they've got to look sexy, innit? For the want of a better word, you know, they've got to look like, you know, in the part, or, you know, it doesn't matter what you look like, it's what effect you have. You know, and you I mean, I said this when you know, Brentford went to Manchester City with Ivan Toney, and he just battered Man City's centre halves. He battered them into submission, like, I mean, and they won. That's a 3-1.
2-1.
2-1.
I remember a little story. We were at Stoke and we played Man City, and came after the game. We went into a room and just had a glass of wine with Pep, and I think it was his first year there, so it wasn't going great for him in his first year. And myself, Eddie Nisveski, was sat down, and you know, you sort of wide-mouthed and sort of trying to ask him, you know, questions. And first question said to him, says, "Go on, then, what do you think the difference is between the Premier League and where you've been before?" And he smiled and sort of said, He said, "Tell you the difference." He said, "If I'm in Barcelona and we play Osasuna," he said, "we go 1-0 up after an hour, game's finished. We can go home, it's finished." He said, "I come to the Premier League," he said, "we're playing Bournemouth, we're 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go, and they won't lie down. They'll keep coming at you." He said, and in my head, I'm thinking, guys, you can't win. But he said, that's the Premier League. Every team you play is. And he said, and secondly, he said, so then Eddie sort of like coaching mentality said to him, okay, what's the most important thing for your team? And he said 2 things. He said, number 1, second balls.
Yeah.
And it says like Pep just
Talk
come in.
to me about it.
And he said, number 2, he said, my job's quite easy at the moment because my 2 best players, and he said De Bruyne and David Silva, they work harder than any other player. So he said, so what are the other players saying if they're not running and chasing back? Because my 2 best players, they do. And for someone you thought it was all about, the beautiful game and everything, those are his 2 key things. The work rate of his 2 best players and second balls.
Oh, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne. Oh, God, in 16, 17, 18, 19, that was the dream. Kevin De Bruyne as well, as Tuesday against Bournemouth, his last home game for City, and then obviously City have got Fulham at the weekend, and then that is Kevin De Bruyne's time at Manchester City done. He's hinted, I mean, he's very much a family man, Sam, we know that. He's got 3 kids, they were all born in Manchester, they're Mancunian kids, they're very settled here. From what I understand, he doesn't want to leave Manchester City, maybe partly because of how settled his family is. He's hinted that he might stay in England, and obviously people are saying Liverpool and Villa are linked with him. What do you think?
Well, first one, it's an hard job, Pep telling him, or he's his decision. Because if he didn't want to leave, but then you have to be brave enough to say, look, well, unfortunately, your time is up. And when somebody like him, you try and do that. I've sat there in that position, and try and say to, like, particularly to York IF and JJ Okocha, and I think that the like world-class players, that you're actually saying in our opinion, you're declining and we're not renewing your contract. The player will, whether it's Kevin De Bruyne or York IF again, or me, when somebody said that to me, no chance. What are you talking about?
Yep.
Who do you think you are?
Yep.
Yeah, you're wrong. We all think the same, don't we? But it comes to us all. When you can't run as much, you can't play at that level. It's not about just ability anymore. It's about the fact you can't keep up as much as you used to. We all talked about your legs have gone. That's the common term in football. So, but he will be effective somewhere else if he chooses to stay in the Premier League. The standard will not be as good to the club he goes to, which no disrespect to whatever club he goes to, but the standard won't be the same. Will that frustrate him?
I think the unfortunate thing for, let's say, football fans, because everybody, I think, would want to see Kevin De Bruyne staying in the Premier League is, and I would suggest most, if not all, the managers in the Premier League would want Kevin De Bruyne in their squad. But that decision will be by ownership, sports directors. And unfortunately, they'll look and they'll go, oh, Kevin's in the 32, 33.
Is that all?
Yeah, but it is the sort of, not damning stat, but I think year before last, he started 16 games. Yeah. This season, he's at about maybe 25 games.
I think probably less, yeah.
Probably less. And that is, it'll be down to the numbers and the mathematics, because he ain't going to be cheap. So what club is prepared to pay him what he would want?
Allegedly £300,000 to £400,000 a week. Yeah,
and also thinking, well, actually, what's he produced for the last, not talking about performances on the pitch, yeah, but in terms of the numbers, it's a huge gamble for any club to go, we'll give him that, but what happens if we want him or need him to play 30 plus games a season? That's the question.
I could only do that, as my manager said, I'm talking about his contract on an incentive basis.
Yeah.
And where the numbers are based on appearances.
Yeah,
but not guaranteed.
You've got to presume they tried that and he didn't want it. I don't know.
But you see, it's your own ego that doesn't let go.
Yeah.
And your own confidence in yourself. But you look at the figures and have to say, I've talked about this before. Like, I mean, it's not just somebody going into the 30s. It's every player that you're signing now has because of the size of the contract and the size of the fee, they have to be hitting 30, 35, I would think 35 games a seast.
Yeah.
Will be available, certainly, yeah.
Be available. Whether you pick them or not, that's up to you, but they have to be fit and available for 35 at least to pay that sort of money. And if they don't hit 35,
no.
It's
I just wonder that there's been
talk, very expensive.
Yeah. There's been talk of like the likes of Saudi and things like that, but I personally would be surprised if he ended up in MLS. You know,
I still feel like he thinks he's got
in the Premier
football,
League.
European. I think he believes he can still play.
Well, Germany would suit him then, wouldn't it?
He's been linked with Napoli as well.
Napoli, Italy, yeah.
Do you think if he goes to Liverpool, it would ruin any sort of legacy with Manchester City?
No, I don't think it would ruin the legacy. I just don't see him being in that equation at Liverpool with their recruitment, the way they go about things. It doesn't seem. I'm not saying it'd be a bad situation for both parties, but I don't think he's in. For me, he's not in their model of recruitment personally.
It'd have been perfect for me if in my Bolton days.
Oh yeah, you would have.
You know what I mean? So
and that's
when he'd come in, he were like looking at the Bolton team, and maybe Fernando Hierro had gone, and I'd gone rang up.
You'd have been right.
Gary Speed or something like that.
Yeah, Gary Speed. But Kevin, you don't have to move from Manchester. Your family, kids are settled. Like, sure, your wife. You know what I mean? Come on, Kev. Like, I mean, come and play for us for a couple of You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's, to be fair
And
as
enjoy
well,
it. You know what I mean? So,
it's the like Sam's persuasion powers. You know what I mean? Of if it is somebody who gets into him and says, "Listen, you don't have to move. You can come here. You can be my captain. You can, you know what I mean? We'll play." Because maybe it is just because he's thinking, "Well, I want to play every single week."
Yeah.
And guaranteed that because I'm enjoying my football. Then it's a different dynamic. Because I wouldn't have thought different back in the day. Sam, I wouldn't have thought he needs the money now. Kevin De Bruyne, you know, certainly. So if he takes a wage cut and he just thinks, look, I just want to do it because I want another 2 years in the Premier League playing.
I adore him. I absolutely adore him.
We know
19 trophies he's won. Oh gosh, I'm doing his final interview on the pitch after the game tomorrow at City, and if I don't have some tears from me and from him, I'll be really sad. But I'm gutted. Wherever he goes, I'll be gutted to see him play in another shirt that's not Manchester City. But goddamn, Manchester City fans will give him the most incredible send-off tomorrow night, Tuesday night for his last game, and then at Fulham as well, because we're not Liverpool fans, okay? And we'll move on from that. Also, in terms of Kevin De Bruyne, that wage that we talk about, City have to rebuild in the summer. It's pretty much a rebuild. There's going to be a lot of players coming in.
January now.
I know, yeah.
You started January at, was it 220 million?
I feel like it was 120.
120, sorry.
But it might, yeah.
Yeah, they
bought 4 players in Jan,
they're not slow at coming forward. Obviously, they saw what the situation was, but you really can't rely on what everybody's talking about. One player that's been injured again, and you can't just talk about one player, can you?
Nope. But we're going to need the money. We're going to need the Kevin De Bruyne wages to go out and buy new players.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think if City next season challenge for the title again?
I genuinely think a lot will depend on the outcome of the hearing with these charges. I think it was settled in December, but they haven't come out with what the...
Who knows?
Yeah, so
settled in December?
Yeah.
The court case.
The court case. But they haven't actually said what the...
Why?
So the court case ended in December and now they're deliberating.
Oh, so there's no...
However long that
takes. They haven't decided what punishment...
God knows how long that will take.
Man City are going to get ready to appeal again anyway.
Yes.
So, it's just another few million to the solicitors.
Yeah.
While they carry on, you know what I mean? So fighting the...
But they will. I mean, yeah, without a doubt. I don't think anybody would sit and say that they're not going to compete next year. It'll be a busy summer.
Yeah.
They'll go and recruit.
That stupid rule.
Yeah.
For goodness sakes, let people invest in their own business if they want to, for goodness sake.
Well, I was talking to somebody the other day about the Newcastle situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the richest club in the world, and yet the owners can't... They're doing well, by the way, but they can't spend the money that they want to go and take it that step forward even more.
The biggest threat is to Eddie.
Yeah.
Because if Eddie doesn't deliver near Champions League football now, the fans are going to say, oh, I'm not saying every fan starts this, he's taking us as far as we can with somebody else. It's not about what Eddie can or cannot do. He's proven that. But if he goes the other way for some reason, the players who are already there want to see bigger and better players come in.
You're a fan, Man City. How many players do you think they need?
He wants to host the pod. Yeah, quite a few. City have been working with a small squad I mean, we know that Pep likes that, but also we know that he's now recognising that doesn't work in this league anymore with the amount of games and everything. City need a bigger squad, and City need a lot of players. I mean, I don't know if rumours about Henderson leaving, so that you'd need a new goalkeeper. City's entire backline
Henderson.
has been ravaged by injuries. I don't know if John Stones will ever play a full season of football again. Nathan Ake's been injured.
And how old's John?
John, is he even 30? I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
Why? It's always been a bit like that, hasn't he? Really, from a young age, it seems like.
It's crazy. I mean, Josh Gavardio's been the only consistent player we've had all season. Nico O'Reilly's come through the academy, and
he looks a player.
He's a player. He's
not a left back though, is he?
He's not a left back. Yeah. He's an attacking midfielder that has been drafted into left back.
And I think he noticed on the goal set on the cup final, by the way. Without picking holes in him. Yeah. If you actually look at it,
that's not his fault. That's not his fault.
No, Muniz was on his way before he sort of noticed him.
Yeah.
Which it's not his fault.
And obviously everybody knows that we're ageing in midfield, even though when Rodri comes back, we need to bring in another midfielder. So City need 4, 5, 6 players minimum in the summer. I've got to say though, thank you to you. I said the same to Mark when he came on, because you were at City during the time when the big players, the takeover happened and the players started to arrive. the players that you and Mark bought ended up being the core of the team that went on to win the league. And so I said the same to Mark when he came. Big thank you for that, because of course
Everybody forgets that, don't they?
They do. You know what? City fans, hardcore City fans don't. Because the players you signed a midfielder from Anderlecht, brought him into the club and turned him into one of the Premier League's greatest ever defenders, obviously in Vincent Kompany.
Well, it's a very interesting story, that, Natalie, because Mark and I had been out towards the back end of the season. We did a trip where we went to Hamburg and watched Vinny play in centre midfield for Hamburg. And I think the next day we flew to Spain towards Zabaleta playing for Espanyol. And we're looking at him at the time, and Thaksin Shinawatra was the owner of the club then. And you're looking at the time, Zabaleta were getting quoted about €2 million. Vinny was about €3.5 million. So we had them in our mind. And then first game of the season, we played Aston Villa away. Got beat 4-1. And after the game, somebody came in and said to me, Mark, the two Marks of it, Thaksin Shinawtra's people want to see you at the Hotel de Van in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And I actually turned to Mark and said, don't tell me we're getting the sack after one. Because it was a really strange thing.
Yeah, strange, yeah.
So we end up getting in a car, we get to this Hotel de Van, we go in, and Thaksin's people are there, and Gary Cook was there. Bit sheepish, Gary, looking at the time. We sat down and he said, right, we've got a problem. I said, what? He said, Tottenham have offered 10 million for Koluka, the right back.
Yeah.
Croatian right back. And he probably, I dare say, his age and whatever, all things considered, he's probably our best player, our most marketable player. And we were like, right. So the thing is, they're going to pay it in one hit.
Oof.
So we were like, right. So I looked at Mark, and Gary Cook said, guys, you can spend half of that. We were like, yeah, but he said, what we'll do is we'll stagger the payments, whoever. So we're like, right. So he says, what do you do? So I'm thinking, right, Koluka right back. So I said to Mark, well, we got Zabaleta. And then Mark went, yeah. And also, so we said, what about the two we saw last week, Zabaleta and Vinny? And then we set up whispering to ourselves, well, Vinny can play as, Koluka play right back or centre back. So Vinny can come in as well. Okay. Didn't think of him as a midfield player. And then Gary Cook, bless him, said, yeah, okay, we'll do it, guys. If you're agreeing to the Koluka thing, because he's got to go in, because Thaksin said he's going, leave that to me, I'll get those two players done. And they were done, they were coming in. So first sort of few training sessions we're playing, games we're playing, we're putting Vinny centre back. And Vinny's comes over to me, he says, Bowie, and he's a chat, yeah. He said, I'm not a centre back, I'm a midfield player. And I'm going like, yeah, I know, Vin, but bear with us because we think.
Yeah.
Genuinely, and if Vinny was there now, I'd say to him, we didn't feel at the time he was great, if you like, with his back to play. So if you're building out of the back, So, and he wouldn't have it originally. I think he went to see Mark and said, look, I'm a midfield player.
Yeah.
I wanted to play midfield. And we sort of, if you're like, no, you can go it. And I think when he played first few games centre back and he did well, I think then he sort of thought,
he's all right,
I quite like this.
Yeah.
So that was the story behind it. So Zabaleta came in at right back and $5.5 million for the two of them.
I
Which ain't
love
bad
that
business.
story so much.
No, this is what doesn't happen now. I don't think, with being head coach. They flew out
And watch them.
I used to fly out every week with whoever. My chief scout. If my chief scout said sign him, I used to sign him, Jack Chapman. But the fact that you've got your own eyes on him at that particular time, when otherwise that player would have got sold, and you'd have got, who we're going to get? And you've already seen them. Probably the scouts have already said, here's two players that are going to have a look at that. So, and that's the difference between a manager and a head coach.
And the data, Sam, isn't it?
The data.
These days, I mean, that if you'd have just gone purely on data, then you probably wouldn't have signed Vinny.
No.
Because he was, sent to midfield, he was getting caught in possession a bit, and the data would have flagged up. He gets caught in possession, he doesn't do this, but we saw him and thinking, well, actually, we're not sure about him there, but there he could be brilliant, So, yeah.
I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
Before we quickly move on, two little rumours from around that time in Manchester City. Did you try and buy Lionel Messi?
We didn't try to buy him, but again, it's quite a funny story because almost the day of the takeover, with Manchester City Academy at a golf day, so Mark and I are travelling on the buggy, and the takeover's going ahead, and word came through on the phone to Mark, said, look, they want to make a statement. So straight away, it was the last day of the transfer window, the owners want to make a statement. So at one time, we had about 4 different bids out. 30, and it was all around 35 million. I think it was Ribery was one. Who's the striker who went to Spurs?
Berbatov?
Berbatov, sorry, yes.
yeah.
Berbatov was another one. And all these bids were sort of going, they were testing the water. And this is God's honest with you, make you laugh this. So at the time, Man City they'd opened an office in central London. So I think Gary and everybody's down there. And you can imagine in the office is a hive of activity. There's faxes flying everywhere. And somebody turned round.
Faxes, yeah.
Somebody turned round amongst it all, so I'm told, and said, guys, this is getting messy. That's true.
And then
next
somebody
thing
said,
you know,
we're after
next
Messi.
thing you know, you've got the president, I think it is, or somebody high up Barcelona, coming out and saying, who do you think you are? You can't buy Messi. So because somebody in the office had faxed them saying, look, we're interested in Lionel Messi at 35 million. And they literally went, what are you talking about? You've got no chance. You're miles below what he's worth. And that is, well, I'm aware that's the story behind it. There was so much going on there.
I don't think Lionel Messi would have come either.
No, neither do I, not at the time. But yeah, so that's the word, honestly. This is all
That's how crazy football is.
Do you know what that is? Manchester City in 2008, that is bang, like 2010, that is so
Crazy.
Manchester City back then.
But it was a crazy day as well, Nat, because you can imagine that the owners were new to it. Everybody's like just picking out who's the best players in Europe. It's him. It's
Buffon?
him. But Buffon was a different story.
How mad does it get when it gets like that?
Oh,
When you got a new owner like trying to make a statement and say, just go and get this big player. And they go off and just send bids out all over the place. They just almost willy-nilly, isn't it? Like,
but they wanted to
it's a
get
big name.
1 or 2 marquee players in. So at the time we had, I think on the books we had Joe Hart and Kasper Schmeichel, but they were young keepers. So word got around, okay, and message comes back that Buffon might be ready to leave Juventus. So the next thing you know, Mark and I, with Gary Cook, we're on a chartered plane and we go into Turin. We get there, we land, we go into the business department area, sit down with his agent. I mean, you can picture that I'm only the assistant manager. I'm over here somewhere, but there's high-level talks going on. We get back on the plane and I'm told, yeah, he's agreed to come, 400 grand a week. And you're thinking, wow, back in those days, it was like huge money, but he was in his prime. But he'd agreed to come. And we flew back to Manchester, there and back in a day, flew back into Manchester. And almost as we arrived, Gary's looking at his phone saying, shit, we've just had a message through, he's changed his mind. And I looked at Mark Hughes and said, so we just flown to Turin and back.
Yeah.
400 grand a week or round about that. And he said yes, and he's changed his mind.
That's how close we were.
Yeah, that's how close, yeah. But it was just along those lines. It was almost to a degree, what they call them, it was a loss maker type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the club the owners wanted to make a statement. We're here to stay.
Where would have Joe Hart been if he'd have signed?
Yeah.
He might never have got where he got in the end, would he?
Well, he actually went on loan because we ended up taking in Shea Given.
Shea Given,
Shea came in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't think he got 400 grand a week, but he still did a fantastic job. I mean, he was one of the best around at the time, Shea.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I could just talk about this for the whole podcast, but I think people would get really annoyed with me.
That's a shock talking about Man City, isn't it?
On this podcast, well, Blackburn podcast us, Sam.
This is a Man City podcast today.
Today it is. Right, let's switch. Because it's the Europa League final this week as well. So let's talk about that. We've touched on Man United, but let's go into the Europa League final. So, first of all, from the Spurs side of it, Son's just had 1 goal in his last 10 games. Apparently, Madison and Kulusevski are out. So, how key is Son going to be in the Europa League final?
Well, based on his stats and his recent performances, not that good, is it? Like, I mean, but what will be the past records of both teams will not be what you see on Wednesday night, because I think that, as we've seen for Man United before, in the last 2 FA Cup wins, after 2 miserable seasons, they've gone to the FA Cup and really turned it on. So if you look at that sort of situation with Man United, I think we're going to see a much better performance than we've seen in the league. Tottenham, I just maybe something similar, maybe something similar, but it's the most unpredictable final I think you could call. in terms of, you know, what's going to happen. And, you know, defences will have to be very good. Otherwise, that could be the cost of winning or losing. So
I think he's vitally important because of the other injuries they've got. Obviously, with Tottenham, he's going to be a huge, if you like, bonus. How is he 100% match fit? I would doubt it because he hasn't had a lot of football certainly the last couple of months. But it's I actually the one person I think might be make the difference on the day for being, if you like, ex-Tottenham or is, I think, Solanke.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Again,
definitely.
you talked about strikers earlier on. I think
Yeah.
he's had, you know, his first year coming to Tottenham this year. I look at him, I think, over the next 2 or 3 years, if he gets, you know, the right service and the right people around him, he could go into another level again, Solanke. And I think, he's the one I think the game could revolve around him. If he has one of those days where it, you know, because he does have quiet days, no doubt about it, but he has one of those days where it works for him, I think he can cause United centre-backs problems.
And at the other
It's
end,
taken him years to become a goal scorer, you know.
Solanke.
Yeah. When you look at his record, where he's come from, and it's only that
Liverpool as a kid, wasn't he?
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah, it's only the last season before he got sold to Tottenham, where he hit more than 20 goals, and that was probably for the first time. Apart from maybe, I don't know about being in the Championship.
But when he one of those guys, Sam, he looked at him. He didn't look when he first sort of burst on the scene. So he didn't look sort of furnished. He looked as if he still had a lot of like strengthening up to do in his body. He was a bit gangly, and he was a bit, and now he seems to be maturing more as a player. Like so, and comparing the two strikers, it's
Well, if he's playing, he's probably the most productive goal scorer in both teams.
Well, yeah, because obviously we talked about Rasmus Højlund last week on the podcast where you gave him the award of the biggest disappointment of the season.
Yeah.
Roy Keane's come out and said he looked like he would just come out of the academy when they played Chelsea. £70 million fee. Do you think he needs to go on loan?
I think he needs. I looked at his record the other day, and his actual record, considering they paid 70 million for him, is poor. It's poor. I think the first club, it was like played 9 games, no goals. Then remind me of the clubs he's been in his career. Career goals and for starts he's had he's actually got a poor goal scoring record.
Yeah.
So it was, again, you go back to potential, but should Man United be buying someone with potential to be their number 1, number 9, let's say?
At that level, that much money.
It's his build-up play, his hold-up play. It's like, you know.
Yeah. People talk about, he's got a great attitude, he works hard. Great, that's fantastic. But at Man United, you need more than that, don't you? You know, you can get a lot of strikers who will come in and work their socks off for you, but you need to be able to score goals.
There's not enough confidence for the team to run off him when they play to him because he doesn't hold it up like you mean. So he doesn't hold it up like as we've talked about him, old Sparky was the best at holding it up. You know what I mean? You used to hit him and he didn't used to budge like you mean. Yeah. He'd stick his backside in you, bang, and it was there.
Yeah.
It was always there. And if you did any more, you'd end up fouling him. But you know, that was him. And he wasn't like that tall, was he? No, but no. You played into him, and it was here, and then he was off, and then he was away. Like you mean, it comes in here, and the rest of them go, ooh.
Yeah. Too many things are breaking down.
Too many. So what happens is when he's coming to Sparky, they're on the way. Yeah. When it comes to him, they're waiting. And that's too late. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's a real problem, and obviously that would all be put to one side if he's got 25 goals, but he doesn't get himself in what we call goal scoring positions, and
playing. I guess in fairness to him, if he was playing in a team that was on fire, that was creating chances, that was full of confidence, it might make a difference. But a young player, not a great goal scoring record, and coming into that situation, it's hellishly difficult for him, no doubt about that. So I don't know if they'll send him on loan or they maybe just keep him as a squad player and hoping he gets a bit more used to Premier League tempo and everything the Premier League entails. But that means they're going to have to go and buy again. Right,
we want to do a combined 11 of Manchester United and Spurs. So what would be your combined 11? So I've written out some names here, so we'll go through them. And between you, you're going to pick your Manchester United and Spurs combined 11 for the Europa League final. So let's start in goal. So, would you have Vicario or Onana?
Go on, Sam.
I'm going for Onana.
Yeah, why?
Well, I on top of the mistakes he has made, I have seen him make some fantastic saves. Keep Man United in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
so, you know, the old goalkeeper's got no thanks, as he once he makes a mistake, then he becomes a target for everybody. And if you see and look overall, as he, because the blunder's been probably in a big game, it's always remembered by everybody, like you mean. So,
okay.
I don't think there's that many.
Mark,
No, I think they both had not great years. I would probably edge towards just Vicario. I just, like Sam said, I just think that probably on their best days, Onana's probably the better keeper. But I just think in terms of who's least likely to sort of make a mistake, unfortunately for Onana and Man United, I'd say Vicario probably the least likely to make a mistake.
Right then, what are we going for?
I'll bow to Sam always.
Okay, right, over there.
I'll let you have the next one. If we disagree.
Okay, you can pick the formation and stuff. Obviously, we know that United play with the 3. You can go to a 4 if you want.
We're going to go with what, 4-3-3?
Yeah, 4-3-3.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some. Well, if we do right back first, Dallo for United, and I've written Jed Spence for Spurs.
Well, I haven't seen enough of Jed Spence to comment. So if Mark's seen him more than me, then, but obviously Dallo would be on the amount of games he's played right back and left back for Man United.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Sam. Having said that, Jed Spence has impressed me so much this year. I mean, when he's played that right back position with the pace he's got as well, never seen him embarrass himself. In fact, he goes the other way, and then he's played left back for them. He's played in midfield, I think. So, but yeah, probably in a European Cup final, I'd probably edge towards Dallo.
Okay. Then if we go on to the other side, I'm putting Luke Shaw in there. Luke Shaw or Dorgu?
Well, Luke Shaw for me.
Oh, Man United's representing here.
Is he fit?
Who knows, Sam?
There's big problems fitness.
Yeah,
like you mean.
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying to look at each player at their best and playing regular.
Yeah, I go for Shaw.
Okay, then for your middle, for your centre backs, I'm going to offer you Van de Ven, Romero, Lindelof, or Maguire. Well, you obviously pick 2.
I would go both Spurs ones for me.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Oh, okay. So we've got Van de Ven and Romero. Okay,
Albeit we all know that Romero,
He's a bit erratic.
He's erratic and anything can happen. You don't know, but listen, he's a World Cup winner as well, so he's got the experience. So
I think
you love Van de Ven.
Van de Ven's one of the best centre halves in the country.
Yeah.
I hope the hamstrings hold up though, because it's had too many hamstrings, hasn't he?
Yeah, he had that bad one this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move you up into midfield. I've written down loads of players, and I'm going to let you guys work it out. If we look in the middle, well, there's loads of names here, and obviously some of them are injured. Like Maddison apparently is injured, but I've put them down anyway, so you can pick your best 11. So from the sort of Spurs side, Bentancur, Maddison, Basuma, Ugarte. And then from United side, Ugarte, Mount, Casemiro, Bruno, Kobe Mainu. Did I get everybody? Did I get everybody?
A bunch of more or less, I think.
Look, loads of names down.
Yeah.
Pick them, do choose as you.
The 3.
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to have. I don't know whether we're going with 1 sitting and 1 either side, or 2 sitting and 1 in the hall.
You can do what you want.
So, what do you think?
Me personally, again, I'd go for the two Tottenham lads sitting. I'd have
And Bruno in the hole.
And Bruno probably in the hole there.
Yeah. I'd go with that.
And Bruno.
Bruno in the number 10 spot.
And Basuma.
Basuma.
Okay. And then you can do what you want up front as well. You can. I've written
Solanke.
down.
Yeah.
Solanke, Højlund, Son, Garnacho. Yep.
Son.
Yeah, at their best again. Son,
Solanke, Son, Garnacho.
Yeah.
And
Solanke.
Solanke up front.
Okay,
Who
so
have we left out there though?
oh my God, look at that card that I've written down there.
What about the left-footed Tottenham player? What's he called?
Hold on.
Is he
Kulusevski, yeah.
Kulusevski?
Yeah.
He's tasty.
Yeah,
He could be in.
it's up to you.
Yeah.
Because at the moment we've got
We're picking him even
Garnacho
if
on the
he's-
right hand side,
yeah.
haven't we? Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Son's out of form, so would we say, is that what we're saying, going on form, or
Is Kulusevski injured? But if we were doing it, if he
if
was
we were
fit,
doing it anyway, I'd have him in.
Mm-hmm.
Kulusevski.
Yeah.
instead of Son.
Yeah. Based on this year's performances, this season's performances.
Okay, so it's Anana, Dallo, Van de Ven, Romero, Shaw, Bentancur, Bruno, Basuma, Garnacho, Solanke, Kulusevski.
Yeah. I think we'd like to say we were basing it on, if everybody's, in my opinion, if everybody's like at the very best and, in your memory,
All that.
Son would probably play, but he's been injured, he's been out of form a little bit, and so.
All our followers will say, what a load of rubbish.
Well, it was 5 United and 6 Spurs, so it was pretty even, that, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good, yeah.
I think United would be delighted getting 5 in there.
Yeah. And my handwriting's just shocking. Awful. Okay, right. Yes, I'm quite surprised Man United got 5 in there. Right, predictions for the game then. Europa League final. Second season, Ange, or does Amarin steal it at the last second?
I'm going to let my heart rule my head, and anyway, I don't want to rule my head because it's a close game anyway, but I think Spurs will win it. I want Spurs to win. I think they'll win.
Me too.
I want Man United to win
Why?
because I'm going watching,
You going with Sir Alex?
and all my friends are Manchester United fans, including Sir Alex. So
You are going to have a bender if they win.
I'm looking forward to the
But
one.
you'll have a bend if they don't win.
This is true. Okay, so you're going Spurs, you're going United.
I am.
It's very even.
2-1 United, I'm going.
Okay.
1-0 Spurs,
Ooh, a 1-0.
Defence.
hopefully.
Okay. Right. Other things that happened in football, obviously, over the weekend. We said goodbye to Goodison Park. Well, at least for the men's games, we did. They won with a 2-0 victory. Oh, and of course, you must have so many memories from Goodison Park.
Oh,
What's your best?
fantastic. Absolutely.
Best memory?
I think that I think it was just getting there and stabilising the club when we went. I think we went 6 or 7 undefeated, and the fact of the total games I had, which was I think it was 20 now or 18. We only lost 2 at home, and that was to the number 1 team, which was Man City, and the number 2 team, which was Man United that year. So it was a fortress at home for us, which took us up into 8th in the league, like you mean. So, and it's that intimidation factor and the raw, you know what I mean, the toffees, and the music, you know what I mean.
My most memorable moment that I had at Goodison Park was when I was watching City play. I can't remember what year it was. And I went into the girls' toilets and Ricky Hatton was peeing in there.
Is he drunk?
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay then. I will leave.
Yeah.
Right, a couple of questions left for you, Mark, to finish off with.
What statement that is, by the way.
Not going to tell Ricky Hatton to get out.
Oh.
Is it true that Craig Bellamy cleaned your boots when you were at Norwich?
Yes, he did when he was an apprentice at Norwich all those years ago. Yeah. And it was supposed to be the situation where he's a youngster cleaning my boots, but he ended up telling me off because there was too much mud left on my boots. Never changed.
Are you pleasantly surprised at how well he's doing as well?
Do you know what, Natalie? I'm not, because Craig was...
Always a manager, not a coach.
But his reputation sort of has been difficult, and he could have been, but as a coach, if you like, so I took him to Blackburn, into Man City, and you'd start off doing a coaching session.
I have to
And
say,
Craig
Mark,
would
there's a bit of a Welsh thing going on here. Like,
Yeah.
I like it.
Craig would almost like...
Moyes got a bit of a Scottish
one,
thing,
yeah,
like me.
yeah. And Craig would say, 5 minutes into your session, he'd say, he calls me Bose. He said, Bose, what are we doing this for? Because you'd always want to know why he was doing it. Is he going to benefit? So if he were working on, like, back 4, whatever it may be, say, but Craig, we were just working. It can't be all be about you. It's got to be like we're working on the back 4. And he'd say, but I'm not getting anything out of this. And I'd say, yeah, but maybe on Saturday when they keep a clean sheet, you will get something out of it, yeah? But what I'm trying to say is, once you explained your reasons, he was fine, but always had a question: why this, why that? And he's a student of the game. He loves, one of those people, like, he loves watching football. Yeah. Every night of the week he'd go and watch games and be interested in the other dynamics of it. Like, so I always, as soon as he decided like to go down the coaching route, I thought to myself, he'll do well here. Yeah. He will do well here. And obviously he had
had that controversial little thing about him in the end, didn't he? That's held him back, hasn't it? Like, you know, but he's got through that now.
Yeah, but he's
through that situation and showing what he's really about. Like, I mean, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, as a player, certainly as a player, one of the best pros you'd ever work with, because he wanted to do things right, you know, and he came in every day. There wasn't a day where he'd come in where you'd have to, let's say, you know, hit him with a stick to get him going. He was ready to go and he demanded it. And that's what got him in, you know, let's say, arguments and rucks with people, because he demanded as best as people could give his teammates and everything. If they didn't give it, you know, only been, you know, I'm not the biggest, he was a small guy, but he'd literally stand in front of people's faces and be screaming and shouting, come on, guys, let's do it properly, which you want. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, best of luck to him in Wales.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do well.
Best of luck to him. Another Welsh question for you. You were involved when Charlie Savage went to Reading. Yeah. Obviously, his dad, Robbie Savage, we've had him on the podcast, got the Macclesfield job after he'd been on the podcast. That's on our
top of the league, though, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, they won.
Oh, there'll be no shutting up there, will there? Oh, God, look at me. Oh, co-owner and top manager, maybe.
Yes. Charlie Savage, will he have a better career than
Congratulations to him, by the way.
Oh, yes, very much.
Yeah. I think they're different players. And when I took Charlie into Reading, I mean, you know, excuse me for saying he like to be six stone soaking wet, Charlie. But if you look at Robbie's career, he had a fabulous career, but he didn't really mature until he was 22, 23, because he'd spent time at Man United as a kid, then Crewe Alexander. And then maybe 22, 23, he went into the Premier League and started playing. Now, Charlie is, I think he's still only 21 now. He's certainly, and I think Robbie will forgive me for saying this, he's got more ability than his dad had.
Oh, that's not...
Well, not. Sat was a decent player, believe me. He was a decent player. Having worked with him, he
used to see him as his blonde hair flopping about with his work rate, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, that, so, like, we go like, South's out like, and he shuts everybody down. And he's gone constantly on the go, and that's perhaps, I don't know, you know better than me, but perhaps that overtook his
it did
his ability a little bit, like
he's fond of telling people, but I think he had 300-400 games in the Premier League. I think he was captain of nearly every side he played for at different times. But go back to your question with Charlie. Charlie's got more ability than Rob had. You know, in terms of a passer. Yeah. He played for Man United's first team in you know, albeit the group stages of Champions League even. Yeah. I just say the question again. I was lucky to get him to Reading because managed to have a relationship with, you know, certain, let's say, clubs and their academy directors. And Robbie had mentioned to me that, listen, Charlie wanted to come out because he wanted to play regular.
Definitely.
And I'm like, right, so we're under an embargo at Reading. And I got transfer restrictions and everything. And I'm like, right, how can I do this deal? So it was ended up me having to speak to Nick Cox, who's the academy director, and, you know, explaining, look, Charlie, I've had contact from his dad. Yeah, I know Robbie, he'd say, you know, but he needs to play, he wants to play. And ended up doing a deal where we didn't even have to pay Man United any compensation, but there's a very large percentage sell on at the end of it, you know? And that was the only way of doing, if like getting on building a squad there, but doing that. But with that in mind, he's in the first division. Reading fans won't like me saying this. He's well capable of playing in the Premier League in years to come. Well capable. Yeah. Good player.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Sam.
Have a good summer.
Cheers, Thank you for travelling all the way up to us. We really appreciate it.
Good. Pleasure to be
here. And when we open up next season, we will look forward to Natalie saying it. Have you seen Mark's got this?
Yes, we will. Mark's 29 or 30 or 31. Yes.
There we go.
Have a lovely time in Bilbao, Sam.
I will, thank you very much.
And you're going to the Grand Prix afterwards, you said?
Grand Prix after, yeah. Very lucky
What
indeed.
a life.
Very lucky. One of my best weeks coming up I've had for a long time.
Thank you, everybody, for watching today. Thank you for watching all season. Don't forget, go on, give us a little subscribe and like and all of the things.
And thanks very much for your support this season, everybody.
We really hope that we'll see you again next season. Have a wonderful summer. This has been No Tippy Tappy Football.